And what we do in hypnotherapy is that we tap into these states to access the subconscious mind. And this is where all your memories, beliefs, and emotions are stored, even those you're not consciously aware of. I like to think about it like updating the software in your mind, clearing out those old programs that aren't working anymore and making space for a version that's more aligned with who you want to be. A lot of people come to me for confidence, motivation, or even clarity in their life. And some even want to explore their past lives or soul journeys, which is fascinating. But the amazing thing about hypnotherapy is that we don't have to guess what's really going on because, we touched on it already. The subconscious knows exactly what's driving these issues, even if it's hidden from that conscious mind and we are not fully aware of it. They don't need to know all the details about how hypnotherapy works. What is really important is that they need to be fully on board. They need to be trusting the process and have the motivation to grow and to heal and to improve some aspects of their life. And by the way, this what we call like inner conflict is very normal. We all experience it often throughout the day. There are different parts of us wanting different things, and then we are just all over the place, or we get stuck. We don't do anything because parts of us wants to move forward, parts of us wants us to do, nothing. And again, just like in hypnotherapy and with pretty much anything, the key is to go into the session with an open mind and heart. Let go of any expectations because with these types of sessions, especially, they are so unique and they always unfold in the way that's best for the client.
Greetings, seekers of ancient wisdom, and we are back again. Today, we are here to hypnotize you, and I'm joined by Mikala, who is a hypnotherapist expert. So, Mikala, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Deepak. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm so excited.
So, we're very curious to understand, how did you get into hypnotherapy? Because it's not like a common thing. They don't teach it at universities. It's not like at school the education system, guides you to becoming a hypnotherapist. So how did you stumble into this field?
Oh, well, I started out on a rather traditional path. Just like you said, I went to university. I studied languages, which I loved. And then I studied international politics and economics, which, to be honest, I quickly realized I had absolutely no interest in. But, and even deep down back then, I kind of knew it wasn't the right path for me. But like so many of us, I ignored that inner voice and I did what I thought I should do or what I believed would have set me up for a successful career, and maybe even what I thought my parents would have wanted for me. Anyway, I graduated nearly with honors, but I had no idea what I actually wanted to do with my life. And I eventually ended up working in the corporate managerial roles. And while I was successful on the outside, I felt completely empty on the inside, like utterly unfulfilled, and without a real sense of purpose. And I found myself overworking like crazy, pushing myself way too hard, which now I understand was just me trying to almost like prove my worth through work, and hoping that my dad would be proud of me. Anyway, it only left me drained and feeling very miserable and stuck in sort of like survival mode for most of my 20s and 30s. And eventually I hit a breaking point where I knew I couldn't keep on going like that. I knew I had to make a change because if I wouldn't, I would have ended up very badly. I was definitely heading out for a burnout or worse, and I had already had very few close calls. But the problem was I just couldn't see a way out. And then the COVID happened. And I was about to be made redundant, which looking back turned out to be a blessing in disguise because it forced me to stop and to reflect and to ask myself, what is it that I actually want to do, work wise and with my life overall? And at first, I had no idea how to answer that. It felt scary and overwhelming because I knew everything had to change, but I had no clue again where to even start. But the funny thing was that even without having the answers yet, something inside of me already started shifting and my priorities started to change. Like I went from, waking up at ridiculous hours like 4 or 5 a.m. to go straight into work mode, into looking forward to doing meditation and looking forward to doing yoga. And I truly believe that these simple practices have sparked something in me. And so before I was officially redundant, I made a decision to quit. I resigned and I went on a journey. And it was a journey to focus on myself. And I think back then I didn't really understand what was happening, but I guess I was starting a healing process. Um, and during that time, I explored all kinds of spiritual healing modalities, and I was searching for answers for myself and trying to figure out my next steps. And somewhere along the way, I realized that helping people heal was what I truly wanted to do. And some of the stepping stones in my journey included getting qualified in holistic health coaching and quantum touch energy healing and Akashic records reading even. And then I came across Beyond Quantum Healing Hypnosis, which is something that I specialize in other than the traditional hypnotherapy. And the first time I facilitated a session, I just knew. I knew because it felt so natural, almost like I've done it before. And it was effortless. It was intuitive. It was so enjoyable. And this was very different from how I used to feel in my old job. And when I saw during those sessions the experiences my clients had, it completely opened me up to this whole new world I didn't even know existed. And long story short, from there I felt drawn to hypnotherapy, and here I am today. So, and I can honestly say that, this feels like my true calling, like my true purpose. I know it sounds cheesy, but it's true. So that's my story.
It's not cheesy at all, and it's so similar to my story because I was also in corporate and not enjoying my life and not enjoying what I did. And it's quite ironic because I had started a solar business and I thought I was going to save the world by installing solar panels. And then I found out that it was a bit of a scam. But it was also meditation and yoga practice that I brought into my life on a consistent basis. That was the spark for me that took me on a journey. So it's very interesting to see that it was also a catalyst in your life and how you came across all these other spiritual ways of healing people or treating people or getting to understand yourself. So let's get into hypnotherapy. Can you tell us a bit more about hypnotherapy? Maybe explain what it is and why is it such a powerful tool?
Sure. So hypnotherapy is a healing modality that uses natural trance, which is also a state of hypnosis, to create positive and lasting change. And when I say natural states of hypnosis, I mean those dream-like moments we all experience every day, like when you are about to fall asleep or just waking up or even simply daydreaming. Or even when you're so caught up in a book or a movie that you zone out and the outside world almost like fades away. Um, and even when you are driving somewhere and suddenly you realize that you don't even remember the journey, right? That's your mind slipping into autopilot. And all these are examples of natural states of hypnosis. And what we do in hypnotherapy is that we tap into these states to access the subconscious mind. And this is where all your memories, beliefs, and emotions are stored, even those you're not consciously aware of. And this is also where things like unresolved trauma, limiting beliefs, and stuck emotions can lead to patterns in your thoughts and behaviors that aren't serving you anymore. And because in hypnotherapy we work directly with the subconscious mind, we can get to the root of what is holding you back and help you let go of it and replace it with beliefs and habits that actually serve you and support you. And it's kind of like, I like to think about it like updating the software in your mind, clearing out those old programs that aren't working anymore and making space for a version that's more aligned with who you want to be. And the best part is that it's super gentle and a natural process to create that real lasting change.
So that's quite an interesting way of understanding hypnotherapy, right? So it's going into your underlying software. I like the example of software because it's something we can all relate to. So you're saying there's maybe bugs in our software that have been put there through our trauma and blockages, but hypnotherapy allows you to access or go into that software and maybe update it or change it. Is that sort of right? How I'm understanding it?
Yeah, yeah, you explained it beautifully. Thank you. I don't even have to be here. You know all of it already.
No, no, no. I'm just the student. So, what type of clients, typically would use hypnotherapy? Is it useful for all types of ailments, or is it specific type of issues that hypnotherapy is, very useful for?
So Deepak, clients come to me with a variety of issues like things like stress, anxiety, depression, fears, phobias, addictions, any habits that they want to break. And hypnotherapy is especially effective for quitting smoking or even managing chronic pain or speeding up recovery process after a surgery or an injury, which is quite interesting. It's also great for preparing for a medical procedure, especially if there are fears involved or if there is a client who, for some reason, cannot or prefers not to use anesthesia, like at a dentist or during childbirth, right? I also work with clients who are dealing with past trauma, like I mentioned, grief, or just need help releasing built up negative emotions. And a lot of people come to me for confidence, motivation, or even clarity in their life. And some even want to explore their past lives or soul journeys, which is fascinating. Um, and what I love about hypnotherapy is that, just like we discussed briefly already, it doesn't just focus on the symptoms like weight issues or unexplained migraines or procrastination. We go deeper to find out what's really behind it, what's causing it. So let's say you may have someone who's dealing with being overweight. And if it's not a medical issue, we want to uncover and understand the real cause. So, for example, uh, could they be holding onto weight because they feel unsafe and are subconsciously using it as protection? Or maybe they are eating too much to numb unresolved emotions. Or it could also be about feeling unlovable and they are subconsciously trying to fill an emotional void. And sometimes it's as simple as when they were kids and got praised for finishing their plate. And so now food feels tied to love and understanding and acknowledgement. So yeah, it's amazing.
So it's quite a wide range of issues. But if I wanted to summarize it, so one core use for hypnotherapy is to help break habits, bad habits, or maybe introduce good habits. You mentioned also um, past life analysis or regression of past lives. Then you also mentioned going to the core of issues that we might have. So you mentioned, like, for example, a person who's overweight. So hypnotherapy can help to find the root cause maybe of the person being overweight, or the person having bad habits, like you mentioned, smoking, which is a very common bad habit, or drinking, or whatever it is. So, how do you really get to the core of the issue? Because that's really hidden quite deep within the person, right? And most people don't even know what the cause is because it's been, buried deep below their emotions and their psyche for decades and decades. So, how do you really uncover it? I mean, that's really interesting to note. Does it take many sessions? Like I would say maybe one session you go just the surface level and then another session you go deeper. So maybe it takes many sessions, or are there other ways of going deep to find the root cause of personalities that we have?
Yeah, so that's very individual, but truth is, a lot of time the root cause, just like you said, of someone's habits and behaviors is buried deep in the subconscious, and it's not always obvious right away. And at the deeper level, many of us really struggle with feelings like not being good enough, or not deserving, or not feeling loved or wanted, or even feeling unsafe. And these are those feelings that are often at the heart of most of our challenges. And sometimes we can start to uncover these underlying issues during our first conversation through a series of questions that I ask. And the client might have an aha moment or a self realization. But the amazing thing about hypnotherapy is that we don't have to guess what's really going on because, we touched on it already. The subconscious knows exactly what's driving these issues, even if it's hidden from that conscious mind and we are not fully aware of it. And so what happens is that when we guide someone into hypnosis, their subconscious opens up and reveals what's really going on. And sometimes it's pretty straightforward, and other times it's more layered, like, the onions. We need to peel off the layers to get to the core. But more often than not, we find that the issues go way back to early childhood, often before the age of 3 or 4, when we are super impressionable. Because at that age, we are mostly operating from our subconscious, and everything is stored there because our conscious mind hasn't fully developed yet. And it could be something that happened with a parent or a caregiver. Maybe it was a negative experience or even just a misunderstanding from a child's perspective. And it is that initial experience that can set up a belief or a pattern in the subconscious that then shapes our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors over time. And when I say early on, I mean it can go back to the womb. And like I said, in some cases, it might even link to past lives. And so once we uncover the root cause, that's when the real transformation happens. Because again, hypnotherapy helps you almost like reprogram that subconscious by replacing those old, outdated patterns with healthier, more empowering ones. So, and it can take anything between one session to multiple sessions. Again, it's very individual. It depends on how many layers we need to peel off. It depends on how ready the client is for the change. Sometimes we need to take it a little bit slower. Some clients, wow, the shifts that I have seen just in one session were out of this world. But there is no kind of a formula that we can follow because it's a human mind. It's us, and each one of us is unique.
Who's the ideal type of client for hypnotherapy? Is it really people that just want to break bad habits, or people that want to lose weight? Is that the ideal type of client, or how would you describe the ideal client?
I would say the ideal type of client is anyone who is really ready for change, and um, and the most important thing is that it's not about doing it because someone else thinks or said they should. It has to come from within. And of course, sometimes just being asked to change can be the first step, but the real change happens when the desire for change is their own, when they actually want it themselves. And they don't need to know all the details about how hypnotherapy works. What is really important is that they need to be fully on board. They need to be trusting the process and have the motivation to grow and to heal and to improve some aspects of their life. And the key is being ready to let go of those old patterns that aren't helping you anymore, and being willing to release any resistance that may be stopping you from making the change. So it's all about being open and curious and ready to see things from a different perspective. Um, so what I do, I practice client-centered hypnotherapy, which works best when someone is actively involved in their own transformation. Um, and the idea behind this is that the clients are the true experts on their own life. They already know on some level, whether it's conscious or subconscious, they know what they need. And so really any insights that come up during a session are coming from them, not from me. And my role as a hypnotherapist is to empower my clients and help them to tap into the resources they already have within themselves. It's all about guiding them to break through obstacles and unlock that full potential so that they can do whatever they want in their life and they can achieve their goals and live the life that they desire. So it's not necessarily about what type of issue the client comes to see me with. It's more about their attitude, uh, towards change and their real willingness to do the work and the commitment. It's a process. It's, uh, you know, sometimes I see beautiful shifts happen in just one session. But if we truly want to create lasting change, that takes time and effort. It doesn't happen overnight. So similarly, when you go to a medical or professional or healthcare, the mental health professional or a coach, you can't fix your life in one session. It does take time. So it does take commitment also.
So I love that the way you explained it. So the ideal client is someone who's actually open to change and wants to do the work and wants to try something that might be non-conventional. So that openness is very important. And I think through that openness, they can treat and heal or balance many different aspects of their life if they wanted to. So the key thing is actually an open client. And, then hypnotherapy is a very powerful tool. So I wanted to understand, like, is hypnotherapy accessible to everyone? So is everyone hypnotizable? Or are some people able to block the hypnotherapy, or maybe just they're genetically not able to be hypnotized? Is that possible, or is everyone able to go into hypnosis?
So for most of the part, yes, most people can slip into a state of hypnosis pretty easily. It's often as simple as relaxing and just letting it happen, kind of like when you are drifting off to sleep. Um, but whether someone should be hypnotized is a different question. So what I mean is that if someone's under care of a doctor or a mental health professional and they don't recommend hypnotherapy for some reason, we have to respect that. For example, hypnotherapy might not be the right fit for people with severe mental health conditions, or if someone has just gone through a severe trauma. So unless the hypnotherapist has the proper training to handle those specific conditions or situations, it's really important to stay within our scope of practice and if necessary refer the potential client to the right professional. However, for most people in everyday situations, hypnosis can happen in less than 30 seconds. And the key is to remember that hypnosis is a choice. It's not something that's done to you, it's something that you allow yourself to experience. And so it really depends on, again, going back to how open you are and how willing you are to relax and go with the process. And unlike some people might think, hypnosis is not about being manipulated or being weak. It's about being able to focus and let yourself relax. It's like that example I gave you earlier when you get really absorbed in a movie or a book, that everything fades away. If you can do that, then you're totally capable of being hypnotized. And just so you know, no matter how deep you go in hypnosis, you're always in control.
Okay, so I want to ask about this control thing, because when I got introduced to hypnosis, it was on television, and some hypnotherapist guy would call people from the audience and hypnotize them and then make them do funny stuff on stage, like quack like a duck or pretend to be a bucket or whatever. And the people would actually do that. And that was how myself, and I think most people on this planet, got introduced to hypnotherapy. And one of my other podcasts with Dr. Brom. Dr. Brom is a medical doctor, and he prescribes non-drug medicine. So he's got a medical practice, but he doesn't prescribe any pharmaceutical drugs. He gets people to take supplements and stuff. Anyway, he has a story when we did a podcast together where he was a young man, I think 10 or 12, and some hypnotherapist came to his school, and one of the teachers got on stage and they hypnotized him, and then they made this teacher dance with a broom. And Dr. Brom explained to me that this person, the teacher, was like the most dull, boring, sour person you could ever expect. But here on stage, he was dancing beautifully, like he was a completely different person. Like now, this hypnotherapist guy completely changed this individual's personality. So, how can that all happen? And I've seen this numerous times on television, and now all these other examples that I've given. How can that happen? And you say the person is always in control?
Yeah, the most important thing here is that it's just for entertainment. And there is a lot of setups involved behind the scenes that goes into it. Usually, especially when it comes to those stage shows, um, the hypnotist picks up people who are highly suggestible and up for a laugh, right? They are ready to play along for fun. So, so that's the most important thing, again, the willingness to participate. Um, but doing it for fun is not something that happens in a hypnotherapy session. In a hypnotherapy session, the goal is very different, very clear. We use that state to help you relax your conscious, logical mind, the part of your mind that's always thinking and analyzing and making decisions. And once that part is relaxed, we can then work with the subconscious mind, which is more open to positive suggestions. So, so yeah, what you see, on those TV shows is just to have fun. The person is on board on one level or another. They want to play along. You can't make someone do something or even say something when they are in a state of hypnosis if they are not willing to. Um, because the subconscious mind is always wanting to protect you. So it won't accept anything that doesn't feel right or safe. So going back to that teacher, on one level or another, he must have been on board, you know? So, and also what's important to mention is that when you're in a state of hypnosis, uh, again, you can't do or say anything against your will. And you are certainly not going to spill all your deepest secrets or do something wild that you don't want to do because you're in control. And that's what makes hypnosis safe. And remember when I mentioned to you earlier about driving somewhere and then all of a sudden realizing that you don't remember most of the journey, and I said that that's one of the examples of a state of hypnosis. That's a very good example, in fact, for what we are talking about now, because even then you are still aware and in control. Otherwise, you wouldn't make it to your destination safely. Um, so yes, you are always in control, and going back to hypnosis being a choice, again, is not something someone does to you. It's really a form of self-hypnosis. You hypnotize yourself by following my voice, by allowing yourself to enter that state. And if at any point you decide that you don't want to follow along, then nothing I say or do will force you to stay in that hypnotic state or even initially go into that hypnotic state. So again, going back to the example you were giving me with a teacher, in one way or another, that person must have been on board, and they were still in control. So, and that's the same in the session. So it's perfectly safe.
So I wanted to ask a follow-up question just on this, just to clarify. So in all these cases I gave, when the hypnotherapist is on stage and he hypnotizes someone and they do some funny trick, and then he snaps them out of the hypnosis, they don't remember what they were doing, right? Like a lot of the times they have no conscious memory that they were dancing with a broom, for example. And he's take them out and then he tells them, did you enjoy dancing with the broom? And he's like, no, I didn't dance with the broom. So how does that work? If you say they're in control, or is that just an act? I mean, I guess it could be an act, but I like to think it's not because I like to believe that people are not going to be lying to us so blatantly like that. So how do you explain that, where they don't remember what they were doing during that hypnosis period? Surely they can't be in control then.
Well, again, it's what you're talking about is for entertainment, right? So there is some trickery that is being involved. In a normal session, you always remember what happens because you're always fully aware of what is happening around you. You are aware of, the sounds around you. You're not knocked out. You're not asleep. You are not in anesthesia. So you still kind of remember everything. Sometimes you may forget a little bit afterwards some aspects of the session, which is normal, especially because you're in that sort of dreamlike state. So some details then fade away. But the most important thing is that you will always remember what's important and you will have that stored in your subconscious mind.
So is it possible that someone can get stuck in hypnosis? So you obviously have a procedure, you put them into hypnosis, and then when you end the session, you bring them out of hypnosis back to consciousness, right? But is it possible that someone can get stuck in the hypnosis and doesn't want to come out, or you struggle to get them out and back to normality?
The short answer is no, you can't get stuck in hypnosis. Again, it's a totally natural state of deep relaxation. Um, So even if you go really deep into hypnosis during a session, or for some reason it gets interrupted, you'll come right out of it on your own after a while. You'll either wake up fully, or you might drift off into a light sleep and then you wake up naturally. So no, you can't get stuck in hypnosis.
Okay, so anyone worried about that, you don't have to worry about being stuck permanently in hypnosis. So I've actually noticed lately there's been a lot of hypnosis online courses or hypnosis sessions done online. So they're doing it virtually, like maybe a Zoom call or a Microsoft Teams call or something like that. I'm sure there must be some difference when doing it online versus doing it in person, because when you do in person, you're with the person energetically, it's different. So is online as effective? My first question, and the follow-up for that, is it safe when doing it online, because you're not there to help the patient if something goes wrong?
Yes, it is absolutely effective and safe to have the hypnotherapy sessions online. In fact, most of my clients work with me online and they have all great experiences. The process is pretty much the same as in-person sessions. Again, hypnosis is all about focusing your mind, relaxing your body, and you can do that just as effectively from the comfort of your own home. In fact, many people actually find it easier to relax in their own space, and it saves them time and money since you don't have to travel. Uh, and to make the most out of your session, you just need to make sure that you have a secure private video call setup, a good internet connection, and a good quality pair of earphones or a headset. And it's also important to find a quite comfortable space where you won't be disturbed or interrupted, so you can fully relax and focus. The only difference I would say is that we are not in the same physical space, just like you mentioned, which some people actually prefer. But other than that, online sessions are just as powerful and effective and safe as in-person sessions.
Okay, that's good to know because I'm actually seeing a lot of online hypnotherapy being offered. So it's good to know that it's also safe for the patient and, very powerful as well at the same time. So I practice energy medicine. You obviously know about that. And sometimes when I make energy medicine for people, some things can go wrong because we're working with stuff that we don't really understand perfectly. So, for example, the things that can go wrong for energy medicine is people can have a very severe detox. The energy medicine can trigger a deep detox that sometimes can be very severe for the person. So, I had a patient who had a severe rash, and in 3 or 4 days, their whole body was covered in rash and hives. There was a detox taking place. In hypnotherapy, can things go wrong? Is it possible? I mean, we did talk about obviously the person is in control, like you mentioned. They won't get stuck in hypnotherapy. But are is it possible that something can go out of the planned procedure? So, in short, what could go wrong if someone was hypnotized?
What could go wrong? I think, you mentioned the detox in the field that you work in. Similarly, here in hypnotherapy, we work with deep seated emotions sometimes that were buried deep inside for decades. So when we open that up, that can make the person a little bit emotional after the session before the integration takes place. So it's really important but it's a natural part of the process, right? We can actually reframe it and see it as a very positive thing, because the process is working, and the emotions are way showers. It's showing us which way to go next. So it's important to then after the session just be gentle with yourself. Take that time and space to reflect, to perhaps journal, to be with yourself, to sit with whatever is happening for you and trust that it's happening for your highest good. It's happening for a reason. It's actually a good thing. So I wouldn't say that it's something wrong. I actually think that it's very reassuring and it will go away. And if at any point of time it feels a little bit too unsettling, then the client can always get in touch with me. And, I always follow up with them, see where they are. And then if needed, we can have another session, right? Other than that, I wouldn't say that anything can really go wrong in hypnotherapy. It might just be a bit trickier for some people. For instance, if some people are on antidepressants, it can sometimes be harder for them to connect with their emotions, which is a big part of the process. That doesn't mean, though, that the hypnotherapy won't work for them. It just means that the practitioner may need to adjust things a little bit and go at the client's pace. Another challenge that can happen is that some people may find it a little hard to relax and fully let go at first. That could be down to number of reasons. Maybe there are still some misconceptions about hypnotherapy that haven't been fully cleared up yet, and they are making client a little bit nervous, even again without being fully aware of it. Sometimes it's just that natural resistance to change. As much as we want to change, there is something that's holding us back a little bit, which again is totally normal. It could be that the conscious mind that we are trying to bypass in the session in order to get into subconscious is very active. It's very alert. It doesn't want to let go just yet. It's kind of like it's on guard, like keeping you safe, even though you are safe. But that's what happens, and that's totally fine. Again, it just means that the person might only go into a lighter state of hypnosis at first. But the good news is that it gets better with practice. As clients get more comfortable with the process, feel more at ease, they naturally go deeper. And I've seen this happen so many times, and even I experienced this myself when I first started with hypnotherapy. I have a very active, conscious mind, so I had my fair share of, experiences like that. Um, and I touched on that earlier when I said that, sometimes more sessions are needed because hypnotherapy isn't a magic fix. So although I've seen people make profound changes really quick, it's important to have realistic expectations. Right? So what can go wrong, going back to your question, is when someone thinks that their life is going to change overnight after the session. Um, so there are things that change after just one session. But again, if we want a deeper, lasting change, it might take multiple sessions. It might take that extra commitment and maybe even support from other therapies or medical care. We all work together to support you, to help you achieve your goals in a safe and effective way. So, it's like pieces of puzzle that come together. Um, so yeah, and I can't think of anything else that can potentially go wrong in a session or after the session.
So I'm very glad that you covered that. Some clients might go very slowly through their healing journey with hypnotherapy, and I've noticed that as well with my energy medicine. That some clients heal very quickly with the medicine, and some actually feels like they're stagnant or they're not moving or it's not going as quickly as other patients. And through my research and understanding and speaking to clients, what I found is exactly the point that you mentioned is what commitment are they doing and what other areas of their life are also going in the same direction. So for example, every client that comes to me, I make them an energy medicine and I tell them a new diet, right? I say, eat more dark green vegetables, eat high quality carbs, eat high quality protein. And I've noticed that people that adopt this diet and take the medicine, then on top of that, their healing is like so fast, it feels like a miracle. And then other clients who don't change their diets, who carry on drinking the coffee, who carry on drinking the alcohol, who carry on with their lifestyle, they take my medicine and they think, oh, this medicine is going to transform me. No. If you're doing all the rubbish and still putting rubbish into your body, the energy medicine is not going to be as effective. It's going to work, but it's going to be very slow. And maybe that's the same in hypnotherapy, right? If the person is taking active actions in the same direction, then the hypnotherapy is much more powerful. And I love that you explained that, and I've seen it in so many of my cases. So I tell everyone, firstly, anyone that comes to my practice, I tell them this is number one, what can go wrong. So you can experience a deep detox. And number two, if you don't change your lifestyle and your diet, expect very slow change. And I see some similarities in hypnotherapy there.
Mhm. Absolutely, it's very similar in a sense.
So, for me as a layman, I don't know different fields of hypnotherapy. To me, it's all one thing. But are there different hypnotherapy fields or styles or techniques? So maybe you can explain some of the different types so we can just understand what the differences are and do they work on different aspects of the person? So maybe give us an idea of the variety of hypnotherapy.
Okay, sure. So there are a few different types of hypnotherapy, and each has its own focus, so to speak. And the approach I use really depends on the client, what we are working on, and where we are in their journey. So, for example, in the hypnotherapy that I practice, when someone is new to hypnotherapy or hasn't worked with me before, I usually start with something called symptomatic hypnotherapy. And it's a lighter approach that uses more of like guided imagery or visualizations or storytelling or metaphors and positive suggestions. Um, And this works great for addressing things like stress or anxiety or low confidence or even fears and phobias. And it's that gentle introduction to the process, and it helps the clients to experience what it feels like to be in a hypnotic state, how they connect with their emotions, and even how it feels to talk in hypnosis. And it's kind of like easing into it before diving into deeper work later. So you could consider this as a type of hypnotherapy technique, right? Then there is what is called parts therapy, which I find super fascinating. It's one of the deeper techniques where we explore the different parts of you that may be influencing your behaviors and patterns. And you might want to think about it as, when you're at a restaurant and part of you wants pizza, but another part of you is currently having treatment with Deepak and knows that they should have a salad, right? So both parts usually have a good intention. They're just coming from different places. And now imagine the same thing happening in real life, in a sense of maybe there is a part of you that wants to work or knows you need to work, and there is a part of you that just wants to relax and watch Netflix. And by the way, this what we call like inner conflict is very normal. We all experience it often throughout the day. There are different parts of us wanting different things, and then we are just all over the place, or we get stuck. We don't do anything because parts of us wants to move forward, parts of us wants us to do, nothing or not make any change, even though we know that the change is needed. So what parts therapy does is that it helps align those parts of you so they work together in your best interest and bring you more harmony and clarity. Because imagine how much more can you get done, or how much more can you be of who you want to be if you're in alignment. There are not different parts pulling you in different directions, right? So that's another type of hypnotherapy technique. Another approach that people might know of is regression therapy or analytical regression therapy. This is where we take you back in time into childhood, for instance, or even into past lives, where you can find that root cause of things like emotional blocks or fears or any reoccurring patterns that you just can't seem to break. And then we also have specific techniques or processes for overcoming addictions or compulsive behaviors, whether that's smoking or nail biting or something else. And like I mentioned earlier, hypnotherapy is also effective for managing chronic pain and even enhancing the body's natural ability to heal. So there is a technique called hypnomed that's focusing on this type of issues. And there is spiritual hypnotherapy, which takes things to a whole new level. This can help you access higher realms, like the Akashic records, where you can gain clarity on your life purpose, any big decisions or questions you may have. It's a beautiful way to connect with your higher self, or with spirit guides, or even loved ones who've passed on. It's a powerful tool for spiritual growth and even clearing karmic energy, if you will. And no matter which type of hypnotherapy I use, for instance, the first step in my approach is always to start with building inner resources and strengthening the mind. So before we do any deeper work and try to change things, we want to make you stronger. And I always start by helping clients connect with positive emotions and anchor those positive emotions so they can tap into them whenever they need, even outside of the session. And this is really powerful. And it's all about boosting self-worth and that sense of deservingness of good things in life, deservingness to have that positive shift. And we do this because this creates that solid foundation for all the deeper work that we'll do together. So essentially, at the end of the day, all of these approaches are just different ways to help clients connect with their inner wisdom, to heal and to move closer to the life that they want to create.
Great. That was really insightful. In the beginning of our talk, you mentioned that you practiced or found something called Beyond Quantum Hypnotherapy. Now, the word quantum is one that I love very much. My practice, I use a lot of quantum technology. I've got the quantum resonance magnetic scan, and I've got the quantum frequency balancer, and I use the radionics machine to change the atomic structure of the molecule. So again, it's working in the quantum space. What does beyond quantum mean when you speak about beyond quantum hypnotherapy?
So, first, it is beyond quantum healing hypnosis, not hypnotherapy. Just to be precise, there are slight differences between the two techniques, but it's a really unique. Again, it's a healing modality that's similar, but the twist is that what makes it different is that once clients are in that deeply relaxed hypnotic state, they actually expand into their soul's awareness. And this helps them tap into the wisdom and insights that they need and the healing on a soul level. So that's where the word quantum comes in, right? And BQH is amazing for a variety of things, similar to hypnotherapy in a way, like gaining clarity on big decisions, breaking old patterns, shifting negative thoughts or behaviors, or even addressing psychosomatic issues. Uh, and again, one of the most common things people use it for is reconnecting with their sense of purpose. It's something I see a lot. Um, Now, with BQH sessions, people can experience a whole range of things. Some might see scenes from past lives, moments from their current life, or even parallel realities and possible future lives. And it can get pretty wild because sometimes they might take on a different forms, like being a human, which is normal, being an animal. Sometimes it's even something more abstract, like a light being or objects. Whatever their subconscious mind feels will be most helpful. There can also be a metaphorical scene that provides healing or insights. And again, just like in hypnotherapy and with pretty much anything, the key is to go into the session with an open mind and heart. Let go of any expectations, because with these types of sessions, especially, they are so unique and they always unfold in the way that's best for the client. So when you were talking about, you were asking me when in hypnotherapy, what can go wrong? It doesn't mean that something can go wrong, but in beyond quantum healing, because the structure is very open, the client can go anywhere where they need to go to find the information they are looking for, to find the healing they are looking for. And sometimes, even though we set a clear intention at the start of the session can take a completely different direction, because before they get the answer to those questions that they want to answer or get the healing that they want to get, something else needs to happen. So we never know what's going to come up. So for that reason, the client really needs to be open and just trusting that whatever happens is for their highest good, and happens at their own pace. And I like to think about BQH as a sort of like soul exploration journey. It's a chance to explore different points in their soul journey that are most relevant to their growth or to the topic that we are looking to address. And there are definitely similarities between BQH and specifically past life hypnotherapy and spiritual hypnotherapy, because each of these approaches guide the client to connect with different aspects of their soul. So rather than connecting with subconscious only, we connect with the soul aspects as well.
That is very, very insightful. So there you guys have it. Beyond Quantum Healing Hypnosis. So thank you, Mikala, for correcting me there. that is very unique and different to traditional hypnotherapy, because it really goes into your soul and it's more of a spiritual type of hypnotherapy. So I can vouch for Mikala, because I've done 2 hypnotherapy sessions, I think, with you, and I am still going to do another one. The first session I did was to release um, anger and forgive my parents. So that was the first thing that I wanted to do, to let go of these incidents that I was holding on to. And the hypnotherapy session was very powerful. It gave me some insight, but the most powerful things happened afterwards, and I believe the hypnotherapy instigated it. Is a couple of weeks later, I met somebody who was coming to me for treatment, and they told me of a technique I should use to help the release. So the hypnotherapy almost shines the light on the issue, and then when I was ready to release it, another person came with a technique to just, you know, clean the to just sweep up the dust. So they worked in hand, and I feel the hypnotherapy was instigating that awareness. And once that awareness is opened, then the universe brings your next step to you. The other issue that I had, the second hypnotherapy session I had, if I remember correct, was to also find purpose, to sort of understand what I needed to do. And I mean, I'm sort of living my purpose, but the hypnotherapy session just gave me that clarity and confidence that I know who I am, I know what I am here to do, and, let go of any fear or doubt or anything else that was still lingering in my space. So it was extremely powerful. So if you guys are interested, you can get hold of Mikala to book your hypnosis session. But Mikala, maybe you can tell people, how can they get hold of you, website, social media, and how can people book a session with you?
So my website's currently under construction, which is super exciting. But in the meantime, the clients can email me. I'm sure Deepak, you will put the email address somewhere there. They can also schedule a free 30-minute discovery call with me, which I love doing because we can talk about what you're looking to work on. We can go over any questions you may have and just get to know each other a little. Doing this type of work is very sacred to me, and I think having that connection with the person is really important. And I think it puts also clients at ease when they get to know me a little bit beforehand. Uh, and so after that, we can figure out the next steps to book your session. So I'm really looking forward to connecting with you.
So there you guys have it. If you're ready to change and you're open-minded, hypnotherapy is a very, very powerful technique that the universe has provided us to help you reprogram your subconscious mind. I think that's what really it is. It's really connecting with your higher self, being able to connect with your higher self and reprogram it, restructure it, ask questions. It's quite a special time where you're asleep but not asleep, and awake but not awake. It's like this trance-like space, and Mikala explained it very nicely. So for those of you who are open-minded, you want to change your life, give this a try. It may be the magic that you have been looking for. So Mikala, we have come to the end of our podcast. It was extremely informative. Do you have any final words for our viewers?
Go for it. Try it. I used to be very hesitant years back when it came down to these techniques. And I think I was just cutting myself short. Once you give it a go, you experience it, you understand the power of hypnosis and how natural and easy and gentle it can be. It can truly transform your life. So, yeah.
So there you guys have it. Mikala's details are below this video. You can email her or you can catch her through the socials. Take advantage of the 30 minutes free consultation that she's offering and change your life. Till next time, everyone. Ciao for now.